Travel along, Catholic pilgrims, as we learn from St. Augustine, Doctor of the Church, while we read his book, Confessions. Welcome, Catholic pilgrims. Before time began and space was created, what was God doing? Relaxing? Pondering? Drawing up the diagram for creation? The answer? None of these. St. Augustine is going to talk about how it is wrong to think of God in this way. Let's open to page 261 to read from Book 11, Chapter 10. Those who ask, what was God doing before he made heaven and earth, are still steeped in error which they should have discarded. If he was at rest, they say, and doing nothing, why did he not continue to do nothing forevermore, just as he had always done in the past? If the will to create something which he had never created before was new in him, if it was some new motion stirring in him, how can we say that his is true eternity when a new will, which had never been there before, could arise in it? For the will of God is not a created thing. It is there before any creation takes place, because nothing could be created unless the will of its creator preceded its creation. The will of God, then, is part of his substance. Yet if something began to be in God's substance, something which had not existed beforehand, we could not rightly say that his substance was eternal. But if God's will that there should be a creation was there from all eternity, why is it that what he has created is not also eternal? Because we have a limited understanding of God and what all his attributes mean, we tend to think of him in Zeus-like ways. God is up there in a place, just living life. Kind of how like Zeus was high on Mount Olympus, sitting on his throne and checking out all the humans. And we ask ourselves, does God get bored? Does he rest? What does he do all day? We ask these things because we are human and we are trying to understand an infinite being with what we see and know around us. But none of these things are true. Boredom is a lack of something and God lacks nothing. God doesn't need to rest. In Genesis, we read that God rested on the seventh day, but that is just poetic language. God wasn't worn out from creating the universe and everything in it, and so he needed to rest. And for God, time is not a thing. He doesn't have a 24-hour day. For God, his will, as St. Augustine says, is not a created thing. It wasn't as if one day God said, I think creating some humans would be nice. And as hard as this is to understand, he has always had us in mind, and we were never just a thought that one day popped into God's mind and he decided to act on that thought. What that means exactly, I don't know. But it's why Jesus' sacrifice on the cross can be represented at every Mass. It's just a continuation. Again, I don't fully understand it either. Can we contemplate all this? Sure. But we need to know that we aren't ever going to fully understand it to a degree that will be satisfying. Like I said yesterday, we aren't God. But it should give us a great consolation to know that God has willed us, you and me, for all eternity. Mind-blowing? Absolutely. We will stop here for today, Catholic pilgrims. Come back tomorrow for more mind-blowing thoughts, but until then, live the faith boldly and travel well.